working on design this week, and I've been working on going through the designcode.io, but he said, now we should make a logo to put it on the Apple Store, and that got me completely sidetracked because this didn't exist at the point that I got to that point in the book, and I read like one line in the next chapter, and then it took me 6 hours to cope with that one line in the next chapter, and then I backed up to the previous chapter. So I've gone back to the sketch chapter because I decided that if I'm going to go through the process of making a prototype, I might actually make a prototype. Might as well have made the assets to build the prototype I actually want to build. So I backed up in the design code. And then I got completely distracted by fonts, and I just realized I spent 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours sometimes this week looking at fonts and looking at lettering, and then hand lettering things, and I've gotten completely sidetracked by the whole fonts question, and I'm going to try and set the fonts aside. I can play with fonts at some other point in my life, but I have decided that fonts are one of those rabbit holes you can fall into and spend the rest of your life just looking at fonts, which I think I might have said to AJ about 6 weeks ago, I don't understand this fonts thing, and now I've been completely sucked into it. So I'm working with a never say never kind of thing. I've also done a fair amount of writing. I'm working on a giveaway for Nergeek called the Joyful Geek. And so that's what I'm spending my writing time with. So I'm sort of trying to balance. This is going to be my main project for the rest of the term. But I have to keep producing content for that because I promised it to other people. So those are the two things I'm balancing at the moment. All right. Any questions? Anyone want to know anything? Oh, look! I made icons. I was very excited about those. Well, I had to find, I found the individual icons, but I had to use, I think this comes from 3 different icon sets that I managed to actually merge together, and I made the buttons, and these are the 4 same behaviors as are mimicked here, but I think I'm actually going to try to use most of them by doing slides, so I'm going to switch it so that if you're in the inventory, and I'm going to change the list to, so this will be use this, and then the shopping list is going to be get this. So you can, when you've used something, you can either say delete it, or you can say add to the list, and so it'll be like used it or get it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to use swipes to put things back and forth between the favorites, the shopping list, and the inventory. And that means people are going to have to set defaults in their favorites category, but that's going to solve a lot of the problem of speed and ease of entry. So as they use the shopping list at the grocery store, they should be able to just scoot things over to the got it category.
Yeah, because most people buy the same groceries on a weekly basis.
Did you design the grocery store part yet?
No. It's gonna look pretty similar though, but it's gonna have categories, so we're gonna be able to have like produce, dairy.
Can you do by aisles? Like I use Shopper, and like I have Sobeys set up by aisles.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of,
Yeah.
so you don't forget shit.
Yep.
That's cool.
So,
I would use that. Sorry. Sure.
but that would be further down the
Yeah,
road. The categories are in a sort of revision 2 or revision 3.
I like the days.
Pardon me? You like the I did these because Brian suggested, and I left them with both ways so that we could look. Is this easier to read than this?
Oh yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Welcome.
All right.
So this is your ideation project, obviously, for now. Have you given us any, did you kind of take the whole week off, or did you come to any kind of ideas, or did you get any new kind of angles you were going with that during the break? What I'm just kind of curious to wonder is, well, you were kind of, like, when you're off, you give your brain a little bit of time to, I guess, not flex as hard, right? And usually when that happens, you tend to get some epiphanies or something.
It was more that I realized, I think I have a way that this, so my suggestion is that instead of trying to sell it as an app, because people expect apps to be free or ad supported or $2.49, but they're really willing to pay $20 or $30 for an ebook if it's got something substantial as content. So I said if I can make an ebook that's about flexible meal planning, and then give the app away as a bonus, then I can basically get paid $20 for the app, having written something that should take me less time than making the app did.
Yep.
So I think that there's a possibility there, and that means that instead of just sticking it in the App Store and then relying on App Store sales, I can do like a marketing front end for it with a website and blog posts and Twitter and all of that stuff. So it's use the social media marketing. And there's a real call for meal planning amongst parents especially.
Yep.
And so the meal planning aspect of this, the inventories, you know, I think that's the how it works, but I think the main value proposition for it is that you can fill your fridge with the things you know you like to eat, and then say, oh, I'm gonna use this, this, and this tonight, and at work or out around, you know what's in your fridge already, so you know if you're missing an ingredient.
Yep.
Unless your teenager drank all the milk at breakfast time. Ask me who had no milk for their coffee this morning. So, but anyway, it gives you, the original tagline for it was meal planning with Max Flex. So it was about the meal planning aspect of things as the sales, rather than this, like using all the food in your fridge is definitely a benefit, but the stressor isn't really throwing the food out, it's the having to decide what you're having for dinner every night. Then throwing the food out is like a secondary end of the
Pain.
stressor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, no, excellent, so you're using what you're planning was using the ebook to educate the user itself, and you're using the app to help them kind of manage their meal planning based on this education.
Yeah.
No, that's
And
really good.
currently people are paying like weekly prices for meal planning. And what you wind up with, in my experience, and I've tried this, is you wind up with a whole set of recipes you've never used before, and you don't necessarily have the stuff in your pantry, so you have to go out and do your you have to, basically somebody else says this is what you're having this week, and then you have to adapt to whatever it is that they told you, whereas most of us already know how to cook that group of things that we eat again and again and again, and this lets you just say, oh my god, I've got 15 minutes to make dinner tonight, which of those basic meals am I gonna make?
Yep.
So
So you're gonna have all of your recipes preloaded into it from your ebook.
I only thought of that in the last 2 days, so
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that. I was going to use the the Yumly API, but it's now $500 a month for the lowest priced API calls. So it starts with 250,000 API calls, and then the next one is $5,000 a month for 4 million API calls. And it's they don't have any longer the $30 or $50 a month that lets you actually build up your usership base. You just have to, if you don't have thousands of users going in at the beginning of using their service, you can't support it. So I can't see a way to support it.
No, absolutely. That's kind of a little too much in the beginning. Anyways, you want to make sure that what you're actually doing is going to work anyway. So I think you're in the right direction with this. But what I'm also wondering as well is, would you have the ability in the future? So what I'm thinking is, say like you've got somebody who is like on a workout program or something like that, and they're going to a personal trainer, and they're also going to a nutritional trainer as well, right?
Yeah.
And what this nutritional trainer is going to do is they're going to make their meal plans for them.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if there was a way that like nutritionists could like upload their meals into it, or if you could have it available like a module for them to use something.
That would
like
be a
labels
very
or
good
something.
idea, but
Something
it's
like-
somewhere down the line.
Absolutely. No, this is just food for thought. But
There's
this is what
any
I'm thinking
number
as
of
I
ways.
try to do
Food
this.
for thought.
So I'm sorry. Okay, there's something else that I sent you guys that really long article on venture capital in the New Yorker. And I actually have read about 2/3 of the way through it at this point, and there was 2 paragraphs in the middle that seemed really important to us, because it was the process of these venture capitalists listening to a pitch. They asked a question, the entrepreneur kind of bobbled the answer, and what they asked was, is this enterprise or consumer? And we've all been told that we should be focusing on enterprise, and she kind of said, well, you know, I'm marketing it. She bobbled it. And they didn't want to fund her because she was marketing to enterprises, because they said it's too easy to scoop that. The enterprise can build it themselves, or they can let somebody else build it. So they were actually, they wanted to go late to market for consumer products. They wanted to have a really established market, but they said the risk was lower in established consumer products of losing market share versus an enterprise solution. So So that was interesting because I've heard a lot of people pushing us towards enterprise in the last few weeks, and I looked at this and I went, okay, that was a completely different take on it. So that was just one thing that, because Heather had suggested that maybe I could sell this to a supermarket, but somebody else had said if you're selling something that reduces people's use of food, why is the supermarket going to want to buy it? So. So there's many ways of positioning our things, but what they wanted really from her was to have made a decision. Is this a consumer product? Is this an enterprise product? And to commit to one or the other and recognize that the risks on the two sides were different. So that was the main thing I got out of that big, humongous, giant New Yorker enterprise.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent, that's all I got.
Great.
Jonah.
You're good.
I did like a reflection on how far I've come so far, and trying to go through my ideas to figure out what it is I actually want to do. So I went through to find a common theme in my ideas, because we're coming to the end of the course, and really I want to just have an income. I do want to be an entrepreneur, but there's a lot of financial risks involved, and until I find something I'm truly passionate, that's not fun. Is there an issue with?
Is it playing on yours? Oh, it is.
It's broken enough on mine.
Okay.
You're changing that to anything else?
Too many Saturday morning cartoons for you, buddy.
Hey.
Too many Saturday morning cartoons for you. You're not good evening.
Playing around with the design, and I erased one of the seagulls that was in the design and I put control save, so like I can see erase or chop something.
Oh.
That's there.
There's somebody in the background. Some weird.
Damn right.
It's just a gray screen with the words value proposition design and everything.
Save now.
I don't think it started. Okay. So that was beautiful, and I still like that idea, but I don't really see myself going through with it because I don't see a return, a financial return on it just yet. I don't know if that's. And then I went through fuel goodies, and I like that idea too, but when I worked out the finances, it again wasn't something I was interested in following through on, but it still had kind of the same vibe of mindfulness. And also I find it's going to be tricky to find a partner, someone that you want to spend so much time with, because it's as big a deal as entering into a marriage if you're serious about an idea. And financial concerns and physical activity, those are both things that are definitely important to me, and social media plays a huge role in my life. So I know that I want to go into that direction, but I also am community minded, and I have other things on the go outside of UIT, like the Screaming Eagles and Ski Banyan, and the Emma Run and different running within the community. So I know I'm happy in Cape Breton, and I was happy to help out with Doc Master, and I considered something like a different kind of clothing line, and I looked into the financials of that, but like I said, you'd have to have like $1 million in sales, and then to house like inventory, you have to have like a SKU of so many sizes that I wasn't interested in that idea to follow through on. And then I got excited about Seppadeck, that I was gonna like help Colin all summer, and then he wanted to do the clothing thing, but I told him about the SKU, so I had the other idea to bring in like the bags and sunglasses, and I thought that that would be cool. I don't know if you... Yeah, I thought that that was cool, so, but then I had intended to stay with a cousin of mine, but that house wasn't available because it's actually being sold, and when I worked out the finances of like traveling back and forth 4 days a week, like it was just a total loss, because I drive an SUV. So that was another thing that I'm trying to be more mindful of, is kind of downsizing. So my sister is selling her car, and I'm hoping to buy her car and sell mine, and then have hers so I can save on gas for the next 2 or 3 years and drive her Jetta. And luckily, it kind of worked out in the grand scheme, because when I told Colin I couldn't work with him, I didn't have that summer commitment, and then my sister got engaged, and this came like, she got engaged like 3 weeks ago, and we planned this family trip. Now I'm going to Istanbul for August, so it's good that I don't have this commitment, because now I can just go. And luckily my mom has like a lot of air mile points, so I don't have to pay for it either. And then this Make It Fit app, I'm excited about this too, because although I don't like code and I don't like writing code. I really love code, but I don't love it to be directly. I want to inspire people to be more like Richard Simmons and have more of a silliness, because he has like a lot of money and he's not like, you know, the fittest looking guy, but his enthusiasm, and he went with what he did have. And Shane McConkey was another person I got kind of fixated on over the winter, because he's this like extreme skier, and he inspired this huge movement in, okay, I'll tell you about him. He died, but he's really cool because he didn't make it in what he first set out to be, was like a speed skier, but he did like crazy offbeat stuff that got a lot of attention, and he ended up writing this book called The Game of Gnar, and it was about like doing the gnarliest stuff and being cool, like skiing with no clothes on, and that would gain you so many points, and different lines on the hill would get you so many points. So he wrote it as a book, and people started playing this game, and it just created this whole shift in the ski hill that he was at. And then after he died, because the game picked up, they had a movie where they got 20 people together, like there's $25,000, you guys are going to compete, whoever has the most points at the end wins the money. But after like 3 days, the game got shut down, and they were like, sorry guys, and they were like, well, we all knew like we only had a 1 in 20 chance of winning, but we just wanted to be a part of it so much. So they went down and like made a movie, like just traveled around different ski hills, and I thought that was like so cool, because a friend of mine came to me at the ski hill and he was like, I've been playing this game of Gnar, like we gotta turn it into an app someday and make it like Gagnon, and I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Gagnon's awesome.
But I thought like it doesn't have to be specific to skiing, so that's where my Make It Fit app was coming, like to generally just take general physical activity and make it like something fun and out of the ordinary, and show that like clothing, like this is all activewear, but it still looks nice. Like you don't have to be in like shorts and a t-shirt or like Nike sneakers to be able to be active. So the shift is kind of on its way. So that's the direction that I want to head. That starts the movie over again. So that's where I want to go with it. So I don't know if necessarily I'll be coding this app, but hopefully in my own life, like I can share enough of what I'm doing and encourage that shift in movement, and that's where I want to go. I don't know how the finances will work out, but I remind myself too that I do have a business degree, like I'm employable. So even like I can always get a job where I am right now and then pursue entrepreneurship part-time, because I know in myself I'm not really prepared for a huge financial risk, and I do have like personal costs that I have to cover, and the no income thing is kind of like really affecting me. Like I'm not destitute, but it bothers me to have not a lot of income coming in. So that's where I stand now. I would like to go off in that kind of like Shane McConkey type way of physical activity, and hopefully pull something together, but if not, whatever.
That's Cool, you're gamifying fitness.
Yeah, so I think that would be cool and bring the silliness and fun back to just general everyday life.
Yep.
And there's certain ways that you'll act like I do, and I know I'm not alone. Like you have certain friends that you get along with, and it's just funny, and you act certain ways, like because you know that they're gonna laugh, and who cares what anyone else thinks, because it's funny and it feels good. And to just kind of share that attitude with people and like be less uptight, like everything seems so like structured, to just let, because it doesn't have to be. I just kind of want to go in that direction.
So when did you start working on the Make It Fit stuff? When did you start thinking about it? Was it before the break? I think it was.
It kind of evolved into that. It was before the break, because I first was like thinking about the game yawn idea, but I'm not a risk taker at the ski hill, so it's not really something I could push.
You mean
myself.
you never skied naked out there?
No, and like I don't hit jumps, and like I'm intimidated by a lot of that stuff, so that's not something I could sell personally, because it's not something I do. But I would love to watch other people do that, and I'd encourage it, and probably like laugh a lot at people doing those things. Like I like when people are acting crazy, so to do that in an everyday setting, like less extreme sports, but just like little things like it.
So did you find during your week off that you were kind of thinking about it and almost building on the idea in your head?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Did you come to any like real conclusions during that week, or was it just kind of?
No conclusions. I'm trying to make it like so that the app doesn't have to assume any responsibility for someone's physical health, and that it's like how basic can you make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it'll have timers. So you send your friend, like they'll have a 24-hour time travel or time challenge, and they might get a reminder. You can maybe set a reminder for every hour or so, and then the challenge itself will be like another time thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be like 10-minute intervals or 20-minute intervals, and maybe you could break it down into like cardio, flexibility, and strength training.
Yeah.
And then just be like, I did 10. Well, I did something last week and it was kind of embarrassing, but I do this a lot, but I'll go and like off by myself and just dance by myself. And last week I did it, but I went to the upstairs bathroom thinking like, oh, no one's gonna see me. And a girl walked in and I was like in front of the mirror. And she's like, oh, just taking a dance break, are you? And I was like, yeah. And I was like embarrassed, but she was like really cool with it. And she's like, no, I do squats in my office when like no one's like looking. So it was like kind of an assuring moment. Like yes, I'm embarrassed right now, but like she's cool with it. Like she's not judging me whatsoever. So I thought that was kind of cool. And to like, so people are doing it to make people more comfortable to like not be embarrassed. Kind of like to bring the social aspect of drinking to alcohol or to exercise, but without the alcohol. Because like there's things that you do that when you're drinking because you don't have those inhibitions, and that you do when you're with friends with no alcohol. Like to bring that element to physical activity, to just like whatever, it's funny.
Yeah,
Move.
absolutely. And if you can make getting in shape and stuff like that fun, like, that's wicked. Because the majority of people, right, they dread doing physical activity a lot of the time, like unless you're really into it. So to set it up like a challenge and like you're just taking it by a daily basis, like someone challenges you to do something and you do it, but then if you look back on like your last month or two, you realize like, oh my god, like all the stuff I've done over this past month, right?
Yeah, because if you do it more for an entertainment value rather than looking at it like a chore, which I think is like, I think that that's the biggest issue. People are setting up these strict regimes and they have to do this and they have to get there, and then they don't do it and the days pass, and then they're beating themselves up for not exercising.
One of the things that happened back in January, it was really quick and brief,
nice.
but it was on Snapchat. It was like the 10-day ab challenge, and it was like go get abs in 10 days. I know like not many people like really did, but I mean because like it was out over Snapchat, it was difficult to follow. But this is a way you could follow like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was almost like the ALS ice bucket challenge, but you were doing this like for exercise. I thought it was pretty cool.
So that's good.
And I'll tell you, Wayne Miller and Leah Noble will be two people that you should get on board because they'll dance anywhere.
Yep.
And that's like, so it's cool.
They could be your advocates.
So that's the direction I'm headed. And I probably will have a traditional job because I like income that I can count on.
We don't like
Yeah,
that.
So, I'm not that brave financially, but hopefully something does come together. And
Good job, Beth.
My brother made it. Or-
Brian's also going to
Link
send
is
out a
everybody.
link.
Take the Zoom. I'm like, what the fuck is this like?
Alright, so Darren, be quiet. And next up on the list of things to do.
not working.
So if you watched the video that I put out last night, which was kind of late, and I understand totally if no one watched it.
I watched
AJ,
it.
thank you for watching it.
I watched
Darren also would like some credit for
Darren watched it.
after he shut me up.
So
No,
last
I'm
night,
kidding.
put up a basically what I've been doing on Face.io, and the new thought of what we're kind of doing outside of a website, outside of a mobile app, is a Chrome extension that takes over your new page. And so I've done that. That's a thing. And this is kind of what it looks like. So this is Face.io, and I know it's really hard to see because the contrast is kind of like on this TV, not the greatest, but this says making coffee. But this is where you would go to set up your, like what you're doing right now. You can also see at the bottom that there are little heads that show you what the rest of your team is doing. So you can see that I'm doing stuff, and I said that 5 hours ago. Colin is making coffee, and someone else is doing another thing. So it gives you a little bit of situational awareness of what your entire organization is up to. So in a real life example, what this could be useful for is say that you're working in a team of developers and graphic designers and what have you. So the developers are working together to make something like a Chrome app that's just like, all right, we're making, we've got this, Chrome app, we've got it made, we've got the proof of concept done, now we need assets. And so you could basically see as a graphic designer saying like, oh, they're doing the proof of concept stage right now, then let me go make these assets and set that in your, what you're doing. But of course, the real value of Phase is the documentation parts of it. So how you can actually gain insights into what you're doing and how to do it. So for instance, making coffee is my go-to one right now. So this is the documentation kind of micro feedback. So making coffee is a brand new item for Phase.io. We've never seen it before, Colin's status notwithstanding, and we don't have anything saved for it. So we're asking the user for a really super brief, basically introduction of like what that activity is, what are you doing right now, and how does this affect your job. So less than 200 characters, tell me stuff, and save it. The next thing that comes in after that is 2 steps, or entering steps. So what was the first task in making coffee? Do you go out and get a pot? Do you go out and get the water? And how that goes on, you save and step after step after step. The point of this is just to be really quick so people can open up a new tab, write in what they're doing, write in a little bit if they have some time of what that task means, and then move on to the next thing. And then if there's documentation available for that, they would immediately see like, okay, here's my steps of what I have to do, first, second, third, fourth if there is, and any contacts or references. Now with references in mind, one of the other things I want to do with this Chrome extension is So say if you come to a new web page, say if you came to, oh, look, it's the Face.io in the Chrome App Store. I want to add this as a reference material to the current item that I'm doing. The next thing I'm working on right now is having like a little tab up here that if you clicked on it, you would be able to see like, save this page as a reference to the current task that you have. And that gets attached to the reference material that you, or the thing that you're doing right now. Alright?
Cool.
That's
Like
everything.
Evernote, yeah. Cool.
So the link I sent out in Slack to you guys should show up for everyone that I asked this morning about like if you wanted to test out Phase. So go on there, try it out, find bugs, break it, however you can, and send me feedback, because I know it's going to screw up with whatever Chrome extensions you have on there right now, or however you like configured your computer. So send them all to me. That's it. So
Just one question.
no.
JavaScript, is that what you're using?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, this is all Angular, JavaScript, and Firebase for the backend.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Good, that was wicked.
Great.
Cool. Groovy.
That's awesome.
Remind me after that, another thing for you.
All right. Sweet. Thanks.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm just going to talk a bit about what I was doing this week, which I think is something that everybody's really been doing, which has been working with design code, which has been frustrating. I've had to ask Rob and Carol a lot of questions, but they have both been very helpful. I am at adaptive layouts right now, so I'm seeing how that goes. And maybe sometime over this weekend I might actually get motivated to work on starting my own version and moving away from his, maybe trying to fit it with Speakeasy, which is not really what I'm calling it now. I'm calling it Connection with an X. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen there, but been working on or thinking about what to do with my ideation of my final project. Still have the idea of using recording audio. Not sure if that's been overdone yet, but it's something that I'm working with. I know there's a lot of competition in the area. Version, which would be more like a review of an area, versus locals version, which is more of a story, something along those lines. And then using Speakeasy or Connection as the platform where they can express themselves.
Mhm.
And that's really all that I've been working on. So.
That's a good idea. With the tourism industry, you're going to get a lot more of the locals telling you the better spots to go anyways, as opposed to like, the big spots are going to tell you about all of the big spots, of course, but like they're going to give you a description on it. They're not going to tell you it's actually something you should go see, that's cool to go see or not. You're going to get that impression from the locals a lot more. So pursue your dream. I think there's more room out there in the audio spectrum than you think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if that's what you want to do, you should definitely pursue it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Agree.
Good job, Ellen.
finished a little over half of another Unity tutorial. So I have 2 parts done that are up on my website, and the third one I'm working on right now. I think it's going to be 5 altogether.
What is it?
It's kind of like the Infinite Runner one, but I'm tweaking it a little bit more.
Okay.
And I also I started a while ago a website for design stuff that I was working on. I'm still working on the designing code tutorial. I started doing my own versions of websites that I hate and how I would redesign them better. So I'm hoping to have those, I'm gonna do like a little demo of those, I think, and put that on my website, just different things I'm playing around with. That's where I'm at, I guess.
Okay, can you give any thought to your ideation project and what you were?
Today I kind of had another idea that I might like, which was using the location on your phone to determine where you're at.
Yep.
So I was talking to Rob about like going to a restaurant. I know I've been to Flavor a few times and it's been hit or miss. So almost like when you leave that location, it'll ask how was your experience, and you can kind of be like, I had this, don't get it again. So then it would like you'll keep track of what you like or don't like there, or if it was fast or slow on a certain day.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It'd be
sweet.
cool, yeah, if you'd say you don't like it, but you could like almost attach the time of day that you had it at.
So you know, don't go 2 o'clock on a Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah, and then if everyone else in the restaurant accrued and you just look at it and you're like, oh my god, like the seafood I should get in the evening, because apparently during the day the cook does not know how to make it,
Yeah.
or something like
There's
that.
also, it's a great use case for the owners, the restaurants, because
Yeah.
then you're gonna be able to look at the materials and say, oh, actually, turns out that Rob is really shit at 2 o'clock when it's super busy. We gotta move him on a shift or fire him.
Yeah.
And that's probably pretty cool.
That's just something I kind of thought of today when we were going to lunch. So.
Yeah. No, that'd be kind of a cool way for a restaurant itself, yeah, to even like be able to test these things out, right? Like, and it could be a matter of so much as if something you thought would fit on the dinner menu well, and you realize it's either not selling well, or people
Don't like it.
don't like it.
It's
at that
cold when they
point.
get it. Or,
Yeah, like you could then move it to the supper menu, and you could see if maybe it works a little better there at some point, right?
yeah.
Okay, well, that's a good idea. So you just kind of thought of this today more or less?
Within the last 2 hours.
Okay.
So I kind of want to brainstorm a little more, maybe
Yeah, no, I just,
wireframe.
okay, no, I just wonder if like anything maybe over the break you kind of worked on in regards to your ideation or thought of or anything like that.
No, I thought a little bit still about the travel one, but there is
Yep.
travel planning, and I just kind of thought this was something I've never
Okay,
looked into.
when you're done your Unity stuff, I'd like to see it.
Okay.
All right, got here.
It's really crazy on TV. So where are we going?
Yep, you're ready.
Okay,
Looks
cool.
like you have black
I-
eyes.
What is this?
It looks like you have black eyes on
Yeah, I look kind of like drugs or something there. Good afternoon, guys. My name is Colin. To the YouTube people, future folk of UIT, and to myself in the future, hello. Yeah, so I just want to reflect on a few things that I've been up to. This is me today. I was very happy. I don't know which way I'm going. This is me sneezing. This is also today when light gets in my eyes, I sneeze. And Darren reflect light in my eyes. I actually made him do that. It was at this moment that my brain entered this whirlwind of feelings, emotions, and I said, you know what I'm gonna do this afternoon? I'm gonna go design some T-shirts for Sapadek. So I've been dealing with some people in India, but they've been kind of slow to get back to me. That's not the image. That is part of the image.
Looks like a life preserver.
Yeah.
You don't want that as your logo.
I think the sneeze
I'm
button.
gonna open up my
Suck
email,
a
just
dick.
close
You'll
your eyes.
sink.
Sending this out to my sister and brother. This one, right here. That's what I wanted to,
I think I'd rather wear your face.
oh, I did open it. So yeah, let's just do that for the remainder of the video. So that's kind of feel of the t-shirt. I want to get that like on a logo, or not a logo, but on a t-shirt, looking really cool. And yeah, I got a little bit of Cape Breton going on in the back. Anyway, aside from this, I'm going to be busy in the near future. I've been very busy. I've been needing help on a few things, and what I've learned is that it's very easy to start startup, like to come up with an idea and be like, you know what, I'm going to start a company. Because at that time it's maybe 5 hours a week, and then it starts to grow 7 hours a week, 8 hours a week, 9 hours a week. And then you're like, oh, like 20 hours a week, I still have 20 more hours in the week, so you start a second company. And then as the first one starts to get to 30 hours, like starting to break at 35 hours, and then you're like, okay, well shit, and the other one's climbing up at 12 hours a week, 13 hours a week, and it becomes a lot. So I've kind of, the sacrifice I feel I've made is, I haven't really seen like my buddies before UIT, like, hey, let's like hang out today and do nothing for 8 hours and just lay on a beach. I've kind of given that up, but not really, because now I'm going to be doing what I love in Badek on my weekends, which is operating Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm only going to do 3 days a week, but I figure I'm going to lose 1 to 2 days per week if you were to take it all, like maybe 25% to 30% due to weather. So I figure on those days I have a nice little spot up in Badek I can code from, or I can help with phased and whatever I can do, right? Now you mentioned Evernote earlier there, Darren. That's actually, so before I get into that, I'll try to make this quick first. We're going around the province to get everybody signed up. We have 5 pilots. I've signed up a real estate company. My dad was left when my grandfather passed away because I have no idea how it runs, and I assume one day my father will die. Safe assumption, I believe, but no idea. Like my grandfather was there until the day he died, so I'm making Dad do this now to try and get him involved in it. As far as Hermjock came in the other week and said, how can you do your idea right now today without building any technology? And my mind was, okay, you could use a combination of Trello and Evernote and start making how-to guides and blah, 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 blah. So for the time, I feel that we're going to be setting up our pilots and making sure that everything's going smooth for them. So part of what my trip is going to be is interviewing these people and taking the information, creating how-to guides, and putting them into Evernote for now, so that when the time comes that we can move it over the phased, push it over, right? So I'll show you things. All right, this is Evernote. Has anybody ever used Evernote?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I had a little bit of like, I know it's like pretty straightforward, but I had some ups and downs with it at first, because like, hey, well, like, if I start searching like keywords, it starts to pull up some stuff, but sometimes your stuff doesn't always show up. So I've been using this actually for Sapadek, and I added my buddy to it who is going to be going up occasionally, just helping out on small things. But I basically said, here's your general job description. Didn't really even, I texted him like, you're going to be doing this, this, and this, and this. And these were things to like, you're going to set up for a lesson in the morning. He's like, hey, how do I do that? And I said, go find it, you know? So I had to add in like a bunch. You can see the tags up here. I have to add in like all the, like what search queries he may make. If that's like how to, what is, or setup, how to, guide, whatever. Like whatever you would type in on Google, I have to make those assumptions and put them in as a tag here. Which has been kind of a pain, but I can tell him you're checking conditions. So I have like all the keywords and stuff up there and what I'm looking for. posting social media, admin schedule, so you have to follow the admin schedule. So that's the general idea of tasks, and the supplies that we need on hand. So little things like that you could easily just pull up. Now I didn't tag any of this, but I have to, because if I search supplies checklist, it'll come up. If I start searching like waivers or medical, it might come, actually I don't know, let's check. But yeah, you get the point, right?
Mhm.
Waiver and legal. Yeah, I don't know if that did or not. Anyway, so that's sort of the kind of stuff I'm going to be getting into, and I'm going province-wide next week. I think I'm going to leave tomorrow, either tomorrow or
That's
Sunday.
what we're leaving, we leave tomorrow.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
figure out a date and go around the island, and then return on Thursday. But I won't be returning here. Be returning in Quebec. My truck is away right now. It's getting a custom rack on the back, which is really cool. I didn't know you could do that. I just went to a welding shop and was like, had a picture and was like, can you make this? And the boards are going to be arriving in Quebec at the Inverary, 9 a.m. opening day. So I hope to make it. Yeah, and that's it.
Is that your headshot?
Alright, quick update. So since prior to break, I guess had a great chat with Jeff and Permjot, and really got me thinking about not letting the 19 years I worked and studied, not to lose any of that. So I'm focused on providing some resources to the maker movement and to the Internet of Things kind of area. Don't know what it looks like yet. I understand the information that has to go into it. So my friend Curtis and I, who's in Waterloo, is doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, is a career transition from kind of the physical ergonomics world into the digital media. So he started a design firm and works full-time with his other job, and we have another friend at BlackBerry that wants to do the same thing. So at some point, we're probably going to collaborate. We're meeting in October at a conference in Waterloo to kind of shake this out to see if it's going to look like something. So that's kind of the long-term plan. In the short term, right now, I'm continuing to work on, I'm on Chapter 3 of Design Plus Code. I'm also doing HTML Canvas project where I'm trying to clone Frogger.
How's that coming along?
It's interesting. I just got through the first course on HTML5 Canvas, so
Okay.
starting to wrap my head around that. So, and then the other one is the Leo's other tutorial on Ruby. So currently playing with 3 different languages right now, because one of the things I told Mike and Gavin is that I wanted to be pretty confident in JavaScript at least, and front-end technologies when I'm done at the end of July. So that's what I'm striving for, and then focus on the design stuff as I can, and as that evolves, because I think it's still pretty early days. But one of the things that Curtis brought up to me last week was all the experience we have doing lean manufacturing. I didn't realize that's where Agile came from. So the whole Agile software development movement came from something I've worked with since like 2000, and so I'm really going to try and wrap my head around that, because I think I can add a lot of value to software companies to take them through scrums, because that's something I used to do with a lot of manufacturing environments. So that's something that's second nature, which I think is kind of cool that I can leverage as an employability skill as well. So Yeah.
Excellent.
And Pizza Go, we're gonna be using some Scrum in there, so that's kinda cool.
Alright, good job, Darren.
Thanks.
Take Faye, don't slack me.
You're on.
Alright, so, I've been working through the Design Plus Code, tutorial, which I really like. I feel like he goes through it really well and, like, literally step by step. I've made a ton of mistakes and I've gotten a ton of errors, but that's all because I haven't actually read or listened to exactly what he was saying, so I can't blame him for that. On my break, it was a lot of family time, and no internet, so I decided with, that and my handy dandy notebook that has everything that I've ever read in it, I would create my own app. So this is like the bare bones of it. And as of right now, it doesn't do much, but I've been playing with animation. So I was playing around with Sketch and drawing your own stuff. I hate it, but it was a good learning experience. So then you can go to the login page and do the kind of blurred background that he had. And then what I was really focusing on was animations. Faye, I hate you.
No, that was.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Then I take it back. So you can kind of like something and something pops up, and then if you go into it, you can like it more.
Cool.
So this animation was super fun to play with. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for that. And then the other thing that I was doing, if I can get to my, sorry guys, if I can get to my second screen. How many?
3 fingers.
There we go. It's 4.
I'm trying to figure that out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no wonder I always go back instead of forward. So now if, last night, what I, oh, okay, yeah.
back, 3 is changed.
I wonder if I can I do this?
Future reference.
Okay, so I set it up so that Firebase is linked to an app. This is like another dummy app. But when I go to my second tab, Firebase stuff comes. As of right now, I do not really understand how to get things functioning beyond like going from one tab to another and inputting data. So that's clearly not that helpful. But it is cool, and Firebase was super simple to implement there. So that's probably what my weekend's gonna look like. And also, as I said, I hated that camera, so I've started drawing this one, which I think will look a little bit more chill, and a little less obnoxious and awkward than my last one, because it's easier shapes. So that's, and it's only 2D, not 3D. So yeah, that is what I've done. And I would like to officially apologize.
That could be a cool icon as well for the actual app.
Yeah, exactly, and then it'll,
So that's good. It's got a nice combination of simplicity.
yeah, and this is what it looks like without me, like, my tracing lines.
Yeah, that's really good, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So, is this what you're planning on working with for your ideation stuff, or?
No, I will talk, I like Darren's idea, and as we're working together, we will talk more.
Okay.
In the future. This is me just like learning the design code stuff, and playing around.
Okay. Excellent. So even with no internet, you managed to stay a little busy with it. So.
Yeah, well, just desperate times.
Normally I just cry and pack up at that point. All right, good job, Carol.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, DJ Fraser. Just gonna talk about what I guess has been going on this week. Last week when we had our break, was working on, actually it was even the week before when we were working on the To-Do app with Gavin, and Gavin had come up with a pretty good solution. I tried to work through it, and admittedly, last week he'd asked whether or not I made any more progress on it, and I said no, and he said, well, why don't you send me a GIF and I'll take a look at it, and I didn't send it, mostly because I was embarrassed, because I still haven't figured it out. So I think I just got to get over myself and realize that this particular thing I don't know. Rob's also going to help me out with it. So I'm still making, like in Angular, I'm making this controller that has a GET request to the Google API for the custom search engine, and it has all the keys and stuff, but we keep getting a references error whenever I make the API call. So actually, I might be able to show you something. Yeah, so this is kind of what comes up. There's per IP or per refer restriction configuring an API key, and I've tried to change around these refers, like it's something you can actually set in the custom search engine thing, and nothing's been fixed, and I think it's just like a lack of a fundamental understanding of what's going on. So, on that.
Do you have a GIF for that, Adrian?
Hmm?
Do you have that set up in GitHub?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't, but I can send you a little, I mean, it's just a line of code.
Okay, yeah.
Couple of positive things. I was kind of, and I talked about this morning, sort of getting, I don't know, I was feeling Slack was kind of stale. It being a company that had $1.5 billion valuation, I realized probably has a lot more in it that are tracking users than just what we're using it for. It turns out there's all these communities online that are setting up Slack channels, and they're communicating about different stuff. So there's like designers, there's the UX one, and then there's startup community. So I actually joined the #startup Slack channel, started by the Startup Foundation, and realized that it's a really cool place to hang out online. This is it. It's awkward. If you look in here and you come in, you do an introduction, there's like, you know, people make introductions of what they're doing. So like, hi all, I'm Paul Gebheim. I've been on startup scenes developed for 10 years, blah, 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 blah. It's a way of like connecting and interacting with people. And then through this, one of the guys on here, Sean Puri, he's the CEO of Bebo, which is a sort of social media application. Part of his team took 2 weeks to create this thing called Blab. I'll show you Blab. So Blab is this awesome live on-air chat. It's very much in its infancy. I've seen it change iterations like 3 or 4 times over the last 2 days. Like I sent Sean a message about, you know, what I thought about the UI and all that sort of stuff. And he like sent a screenshot to his team, and they're gonna like try and work on some of the suggestions and stuff. It feels really cool to be on the ground floor as sort of like there's only maybe 20 to 24 people ever in a channel at a time. So I feel like I'm, you know, really kind of contributing to that. Who knows though? But I've been on there 2 nights in a row watching these awesome conversations happening between founders of startups down in Silicon Valley. There's a guy who lives in Ohio, in like a town of 9,000. There's a guy, Greg Eisenberg, who lives in Montreal. He's a really cool fella. Brittany Metz is working with Blab. Guy Gal, and so these guys have experience in exiting other companies before, and then what happens is you get into a little, you get some like in jokes, right? And then you make the jokes, and you got a Twitter war. And I was never engaged in Twitter before, but now I've got these people that they're interested in the same things I am in different places, and getting to have conversations with them. So it's great because I feel like I'm starting to access a community that I'd never accessed before. I was never like a pen pal guy. I got friends who live everywhere, but I met them in person first, you know? So it's neat to meet people online and then start realizing we can do this thing remotely. I just wanna make sure I know my shit before I have conversations. So there's another guy named Nikita Elam, who, he's a guy from Ohio, and he has a podcast called Easy Startup, I think?
Yep.
And he just interviews like everybody. So he's interviewed a lot of people from Y Combinator and people who have had like 30 million plus exits, and people who are just starting a startup. So I'm gonna get Colin Bryan in touch with them. I think he would find them pretty interesting. He wanted to, hear about UIT, so I might go on the podcast. I don't know. So we'll see. So that's that. As far as 2D goes, as I mentioned, stuck in this little piece. But there's a lot more I see that I could do with the app other than just doing event listings. Of course, it's the MVP. After listening to a blab chat last night with Shane Mack and Robert Stevens, who Robert Stevens started Geek Squad, which is like the biggest IT help company. They were acquired by Best Buy. They're like the Best Buy help team now. They have a startup called Assist, which is for people who are traveling. They can just like tweet where they're, or send a message where they're going. They'll have like a local in that town saying, hey, you should go to this restaurant. This is a cool thing to do, blah, 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 blah. So I listened to them and thought if I could build Tudu and have it functioning and have it work well, the locals who are making suggestions on Assist could actually use that to come up with really good experiences for folks that are traveling into town. It'll be another way into entering that market. So the more you listen, the more you learn about what else and what other people are doing, the more options come available, and you realize maybe I can shift in this direction or that direction. Good.
Sure.
Oh, I'll show you actually what, because there's like 2 people on the Maker Hunt one right now. I love the logo. Hello, Space Al. Okay, yeah, so there's nobody talking right now. But there would be like 3 or 4 chats happening here, people discussing stuff as people are talking. Like, I don't know, I'll just do this for fun. Gotta allow it. Yep. And so, that's how that's working. Now I'm gonna go to that. 'Cause it's creepy. But people will give you like little upvotes and stuff like that as you're talking, just agreeing with what you say maybe, which is kind of cool. Somebody might say something that's really funny, and then I'll just like get 50 like upvotes.
That was my only joke.
Yes. Oh, also that Sean Burry guy, he made a Medium. Oh, I think I just broke this. A Medium post about the chat that we had 2 nights ago, and a good saying that came out of it. Somebody had said something like "fake it till you make it." They were talking about some of these exercises they were doing. They said "fake it till you make it," and then Guy Gal actually stepped up and was like, "No, that's a fallacy. Make it till you make it. You have to start small, make it, have something, and then iterate and work and work." So Sean actually did a little blog post on it, and he used this image that I made, which was the in joke. It was kind of cool. It's just
Good job, AJ. All right, you're on.
Hi everyone, happy Friday. Heather Hoyles here. I'm just going to give a brief summary of my week, the last few weeks, essentially. I will voice some similar points that Darren made, which is that when Permjot came to visit, he offered some really great advice, and having had some time to sit with him and talk with him at the dinner with Shona as well was pretty inspiring, at least to me, and then had some follow-up conversations with Jeff. But I had kind of a breakthrough in the last few weeks with regards to the concept, which I know still has a sort of shrouded in mystery because I haven't actually pitched it yet. And I've been working on 5 different pitch decks for the last 2 weeks. So the short pitch, the elongated pitch, the investment pitch, the pitch for the branders, and the pitch for the end users. Because I do that to try and wrap my head around the language, and some of the language in this is overcomplicated, and that's just, it's verbose because I'm verbose. So I'm trying to find a way to simplify it and distill it and get it down to its sort of core, so that I can focus enough to enter some of these pitch contests that are coming up in the summertime. But with regards to like breakthrough and commitment, I am completely 100% happy with where I'm headed from a concept direction standpoint. I'm excited about it. People that I worked with in the past are super excited about it. I have a list of key potential validators that are saying it can't be built quickly enough, and they're already sharing how much they think from a monetary standpoint they would be willing to pitch in to test it. So that's on the branding side. But my background for the last 20 years has been with the top 100 brands. Like I've either represented them or worked directly with them in Fortune 500 companies or advertising agencies. So with what Darren was saying, is we do know our competitive advantage, and usually it's the fact that we've aligned with something that we're passionate about. And while I don't want to be in branding and marketing the rest of my life, I do understand what they're doing. And while I can't quite communicate it in this context, I know it and I feel it and I have a good instinct about it, and I made a lot of good money doing it before, so I feel like I should revisit that and find a way to intersect that passion with the things I love to do. And what I was saying with Matt earlier is I was really laying in bed at night saying, okay, what is it that I need above and beyond the startup concept that I had with my former partner, the things about that concept that I loved. I was able to extract sort of the essence of what made me feel really good about that concept and turn it into something that was entirely my own without completely stepping away from the social component and the play with purpose concept that was always a part of my own passion. So I'm very excited about that. It's a really big deal for me because the next 3 months I'm either going to be working on the concept development or the validation, and hopefully by this time next week I'll have a list of the key validators and a pitch deck to share with everybody. Maybe I can afford it, but the hope is that in the next 2.5 to 3 months I'll also be able to identify some funding so that I can get at least the MVP built. And I'm going to try to be part of that process, but I'm also not going to worry too much about being able to develop it when I know that my skills aren't necessarily in that wheelhouse. But I do want to get the MVP built before the end of term. So long story short, lots of good things. This week, particularly on Wednesday, I haven't had one of these days since probably, I don't know, back in journalism, but I literally was on my bike, pedaling home in the rain, got completely sloshed by passerbys driving. I was soaked to the bone, I was freezing, my hands were white because I was so cold, and I was so fucking happy. And I have not experienced that level of bliss or joy in this program at all. And so, that was really good. I'm happy.
Job, Heather.
Alright, hey guys, Jake again. So starting off this week, I spent like 7 of the previous 12 days in Halifax, which was sweet. That includes like the Volta party. Got to see a ton of music events, got to meet a bunch of awesome people in music and in tech. And best part about it is they all the same question. So, like, what are you doing? So I was happy to tell everyone about the program and what we've been up to and how it's this new thing and we're building apps and stuff like that. So then as soon as I started talking about building apps, they're like, cool, so what are you building? So I've been kind of like batting this Twitter idea around for a while, and just through saying it over and over to people, I like have it down to like a 6-second explanation. You guys have all heard it before. You guys know what I'm working on. But anyways, so I came back this week and I was like, the whole thing that's been haunting me, I think, with it is that like I know I'm gonna have to learn the Twitter API, and it seems like a daunting task because I've tried. Like I've read the documentation and I get like 5 words in, and 3 of those words I don't know what they are. So it's tricky, but and the biggest problem with it all is I didn't know the mechanism for like how this was going to work. I didn't even know how I wanted it to work outside of the technology and whatever. So sat down at the start of the week and I just started like writing stuff in my book, just ideas like how this is going to work, and I kind of got somewhere. So I made this stupid chart. Ignore the math because it doesn't make sense to anybody else but me. But I like basically the idea is like you could pick a topic and then pick one for like today. It would be multiple in the future, I think. Account or accounts that are representative of that. So if I pick the category of music, then I pick the music accounts that I follow, like go-to for music. And the idea here is to like be able to organize people that you follow into groups, but have it done for you, like curate it. So came up with this system. Basically, it creates a hierarchy of people based off like dumbass page, and it's linked to a button. So I have like 20 some accounts here, like UIT is one of them, and the idea here is music, and I've picked it Deadmouse as the music account. So it creates this hierarchy of all these different, it's kind of cut off on the side, but it doesn't really matter. And like I did some tweaks with it, and it actually kind of works. Like that's around what I would expect to get from it. So I was pretty pumped because now it started like feeling like an actual thing. So I started.
So like, sorry, the green is like ones that are
Yeah, it's
tweeting
like
about music
strongest
and
to
like.
weakest, and the ones at the bottom and the white are like no connection at all.
That's
so,
super cool.
And it's just like varying degrees of connection, and like it actually works. Like you guys probably aren't into music as much as I am, but like I use Deadmouse as like the #1 choice, and like these top 2 guys, that's like guys that are on his label. Are the top 2, and it's just the way that it worked out in the logic, and then you go like further down, and like it's more like unrelated music stuff as it goes. So it was kind of cool to get that working. So then I started talking to Jeff Anderson about it because he said he's used it before. He's not super familiar with it, but I started talking to him about like what kind of data types and stuff I can get out of it. And where I'm at now, he basically convinced me to learn the Twitter API. So that was like what I'm in the middle of on Code Academy. That's a start. But just having this logic and having it like going somewhere is the motivation I need to like continue learning these things that are way above my head. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep rolling with this, and I am honest. So I'm gonna try and build this in the next 3 months. I'm just gonna go at it every day and see what happens. So.
Good job.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
We were chatting about that earlier in the week, and I think it's a great idea, and I think it's awesome that you got the algorithm kind of out there like that.
Oh yeah, and like I know, like I just have like really like loose logic,
Yeah.
right? It's
But that's all
everything
loose.
is gonna need to be tweaked. Like the reason I need to get to the API now is because I need. Jeff suggested that I learn like the Twitter like OAuth stuff,
Yeah.
and like hook it up to my own account, and then just start playing around with things and like doing different requests,
Yeah, absolutely.
and just do what I can, because like I'm gonna know based on my own account whether it's really working or not.
Yeah.
So if I can get to that stage, then I can just test and test and test, and then really lock down the logic, because
Yeah.
I basically just have like really macro stuff that will need to be more specific, and problems are gonna come up.
Well, think of it like tuning up a car as well, right? Like right now you've got the car, but you don't know how well it's tuned up, right? So
For sure.
you gotta try it out a bit, and you realize, oh well, I gotta tweak this thing a little bit. So
Yeah,
let's
and just
tweak
like
that.
getting it to that point
Yeah.
was huge. And like the main thing with this right now is like I'm focused on tweets coming in,
Yeah.
and then if I ever get that down, flip it on like tweets coming out,
Yeah.
which would be
absolutely.
the test.
Yeah, you have to talk to
someone who has not had this problem that you're trying to
Oh,
solve.
well,
It's like-
yeah, like all the people I talked to, like I
Yeah.
told them in 10 seconds what it was. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like, how does that not exist?
And that's
I
like,
have one
I
that's
know,
like-
I've talked to people, it's just like huge common for all these.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Just like one,
You
one
look like you might
hand,
kill
one
me,
hand
but
clap.
like I do like it.
Yeah, one kill you.
Hey, what's up, Target?
Fine.
Good.